My name is Troy deBeauclair. I'm a director on our group services team, and I lead the manufacturing vertical here at Appficiency. I started my ERP career back in 2008 on supply chain and operations side, working with venue management systems around stadiums and arenas, which sounds unrelated to manufacturing, but I've learned over the years that the operational complexity is more similar than you'd think. From there, I moved into logistics and financial systems, and by 2015, I was inside NetSuite's own professional services organization in the software vertical. In 2018, I transitioned into the NetSuite partner ecosystem. And since then, I've been working mainly with manufacturers through various phases of implementations, optimizations, and everything in between. So every conversation I have is grounded in real delivery experience, not theory. Even though it feels gradual, there's usually a moment. And that moment is almost always the same. A leader can't answer a basic question about their own business in real time. What did that job actually cost? Where are we on that production order? How much of that material do we have on hand right now? If the answer involves calling someone, pulling a spreadsheet, or waiting for month end, that's the signal. The system isn't keeping up. People are, and people-dependent processes are expensive, fragile, and don't scale. Good question. I would say there are two common mistakes I see. The first is carrying old processes into new technology. I've seen companies invest in a platform, go live, and then run the exact same manual workarounds they had before, just inside a different system. They digitize their problems instead of solving them. The second one is not involving the right people early enough. When you conduct an ERP implementation for a manufacturer without the shop floor supervisors or the operations managers having a voice in the room, you end up with something finance loves and operations quietly ignores. Both of those scenarios are recoverable, but they're expensive lessons to learn. Because revenue is easy to track and true cost is hard to track. A company can add customers, volume, and product lines, but if they don't have clear visibility into the reality of what each unit or job actually costs to produce, they're pricing against assumptions, not real data. I've worked with manufacturers who were growing year over year and didn't realize they were losing money on one of their best-selling products. The revenue line looked great, but the margin was quietly bleeding. Visibility and sequencing. When you have multiple lines running simultaneously, the complexity compounds. Materials, labor, machine capacity, quality checkpoints. Without a system connecting those in real time, you end up with a lot of tribal knowledge holding things together. And that works until the person holding that knowledge walks out the door, or you try and double your output in 6 months. That knowledge doesn't scale, and the systems in place ultimately have to replace it. Someone makes a purchasing call in the morning without knowing what's already in the warehouse. A work order gets released against materials that were already committed elsewhere, or finance finds out about a production issue 3 weeks after the fact when the numbers don't reconcile. Every one of those situations is a symptom of the same root problem. No single source of truth. Everyone's working off their own version of the data, and the gaps between those versions are where mistakes live. You get a lot of finger pointing and not a lot of accountability. Production blames purchasing for missing materials. Purchasing blames finance for budget constraints. Finance blames everyone for poor forecasting. What's actually happening is that each team is working off a different view of the same reality, and there's no common platform forcing alignment. In those environments, I find that people become the integration layer between systems, and that's not a compliment, that's a risk. Is one I feel strongly about because it doesn't look like a problem until suddenly it does. For example, a 3% material overage on every job looks like noise on a monthly report. Multiply that across a year, across dozens of jobs, and you're looking at a meaningful drag on margins that you can't explain and didn't budget for. It's the same with labor. 15 untracked rework minutes per job sounds like nothing, but at scale, it becomes a cost you're carrying but can't see. Fundamentally, if you don't know your true cost, you're either leaving money on the table or you're pricing yourself out of deals that you should win. What I see often is companies using historical averages to price new work without accounting for changes in material costs, labor rates, or job complexity. In a stable environment, that might be manageable, but in today's environment, it's real exposure. The technology itself is rarely the problem. In my experience, it comes down to two things: underestimating the change management side and trying to do too much in phase one. Companies want to go live with every module, every customization, every integration on day one. What they end up with is a system that's technically deployed, but never truly adopted. The goal of phase one isn't necessarily a heavy transformation. It's establishing a common platform that people actually use, recognize the potential value in, and ultimately will buy into. The optimization and automation come after you've stabilized the foundation. The other factor is unclear ownership. If no one inside the business is accountable for making the system work, it drifts. Every successful implementation I've been part of had a strong internal champion or a small team of them. That's not optional. It starts with a solid ERP, your system of record for inventory, production, finance, and procurement. From there, you layer in point solutions where the ERP's native capabilities aren't the right fit. That could be a specialized WMS for complex warehousing, an MES for detailed shop floor execution, or a dedicated planning tool for complex demand forecasting. The key is that everything connects back to the ERP. If your shop floor data lives in a system that never talks to your financial records, you've just moved the gap, you haven't closed it. At Appficiency, we use a framework called solution leveling to help clients understand the right level of complexity for each requirement. The principle is simple. Don't start by building a train if a car can get you there just as well. Start with native capabilities, prove they work, then graduate to custom solutions only when the data tells you to. That approach keeps implementations on track and clients focused on business outcomes, not technology for its own sake. Gap between the shop floor and finance is the most consistent one I see. Production counts, labor hours, material consumption, that data often lives in spreadsheets, on whiteboards, or in a standalone system that was never integrated with the ERP. So the financial picture is always a step behind what's actually happening on the floor. The second one is the gap between CRM and ERP. Sales is making commitments on delivery timelines or pricing that the operational side can't support because those two systems don't talk to each other. That creates a trust problem internally and a credibility problem externally. First thing I'd do is I'd separate the hype from what I actually see delivering value. The future is very bright for AI enablement in the manufacturing space, but I caution leaders to evaluate the tangible near-term gains versus the promises of features to come on any applications that they evaluate. Going all in on AI blindly is just as dangerous as not going into AI at all, in my opinion. With that said, and back to your original question, on the ERP side, the most practical wins I see right now are in demand forecasting, anomaly detection in procurement and inventory, and automating routine financial transactions, such as invoice matching and PO reconciliation. These are real measurable time savings that we've seen. On the CRM side, AI is starting to help with lead prioritization and opportunity scoring, which matters more than people think for manufacturers with long, complex sales cycles. The caveat I always give, AI is most useful when you have clean, structured data underneath it. If your ERP data is a mess, AI just gives you messier outputs faster. So fix the foundations first. Start with use cases that augment decisions, not ones that replace processes entirely. The risk of moving too fast is that you automate something that wasn't well understood to begin with, and you create downstream problems that are hard to trace back to the source. AI features that sit on top of your ERP, predictive reorder points, AI-assisted demand planning, conversational data queries. These are relatively lower risk and deliver measurable value. That's the right starting point for most manufacturers that I work with. Great question. Do my systems tell me what I need to know to run the business, or am I relying on people to fill the gaps? Most manufacturing leaders know their business deeply. They've been in it for years. The risk is that the institutional knowledge that made them successful at a smaller scale becomes a liability as they grow. If the answer to every data question is go ask so-and-so, you have a people dependency, not a business process, and people dependencies do not scale. Stop trying to solve everything at once. I've seen manufacturers spend 18 months evaluating every possible solution and end up exactly where they started, paralyzed by optionality. The first move is to get clear on the one or two challenges creating the most pain, whether that's job costing, visibility, inventory accuracy, or month-end close. Pick a problem, solve it, and build confidence in the platform with a focused win, then expand. Every manufacturer I've seen succeed with a technology transformation has one thing in common. They started with clarity on the problem that they were solving, not the solution that they wanted to buy.